Another way to essentially look at the bulk load is you have a blitz line in your first 200 feet. Anything required outside of 200 feet, it's going to become more of a rear wheel driven operation. So guy number 2, 3, 4, however many personnel or staff that we have to help us out with that, is going to dictate how we move and when we move forward. So we're always trying to get as much hose as we can to the target objective or to the drop. And the best way to do that is for your first guy who's pulling this, none of this is going to come off his shoulder. Ideally, we'd like that first 100 to get to the drop so that we have the ability to go around the structure, not just stretch it straight to that and have to extend off of the bundle. Because then we have no way to manipulate that 100 feet or use that 2.5 to our advantage initially for a knockdown. So how that's going to look essentially is when guy number 2 grabs this and shoulders it, and then he grabs the next part and pulls that tight, he's going to communicate forward. So what we're going to wind up doing is 2 people, we're going to pull 300 feet around a blind corner of a building to a target objective. That being said, we don't know what obstacles and things are there. So what you want to do is when you have an unforeseen obstacle or unknowns, you want to keep as much hose on your shoulders so that you can manipulate those corners. And this is how we're going to be able to do that. So LT is going to go ahead and shoulder the first 100, and that's all he's going to carry. And he's going to go ahead and stop. So again, like the bulk bed, everything's going to play off the top. That's how we want it to play, but I still want to keep a close distance to him so that I can manipulate those corners with us and there's not too much hose to trip on. So instead of just pulling this and dumping it or loading it the way it is on my shoulder because it's playing off the top, I want to be able to feed hose behind me. So all I'm going to do is give this a little twist, a little 180 towards me. If I pull it out like so, I give this a twist like that, and now it's going to play off the same way like his is, like a traditional Minuteman. I'll step out. If I want 300 feet, I'll dump this 300 bite. I'm going to find my 50-foot coupling or tape for this example, and then we're going to go off. This is going to pull tight. Once this pulls tight, it's on me to communicate with him when I'm playing this off my shoulder. On you. That was a 2-person, 300-foot pole. Again, just to quickly walk through what happened is the nozzle guy was taking the working section of hose, which is going to be the first 100. That stays on his shoulders all the way till the drop into the target zone. Me being the second guy, I came up. I made sure when I pulled this out, I turned it, put it on my shoulder, and that allowed it to play out in the same fashion as the Minuteman. That allows me to be able to mitigate, drop that hose where I want it, whether it's upstairs and going up floors or through the cones and around obstacles and corners like you saw over there. When I had come out and grabbed this 300 bite and I dumped it and I reached down and grabbed that 50 coupling, essentially I had my own 200-foot Minuteman. So I was pulling 100 feet with my left hand while shouldering the 100. If we want to do a longer stretch, not much is going to change for the front guy. He's still going to carry only 100 feet on his shoulder. The only reason he would carry that and not pull anything behind him is because if we get to a point where we have to mitigate corners and turns, we don't want to put 50 feet of hose or 100 feet of hose on the ground in between us. So we're going to carry the same fashion and model that we did before, except the backup guy is going to pull more hose. First guy gets 100, I grab 200, I turn and flip and shoulder. When I get to this 300 bite, I pull it. Instead of letting go and dumping it on the ground, I'm going to get this out far enough to put it on my shoulder. Once that's on my shoulder, it's going to dump the 300 it's attached to, and it's going to play off and start pulling from the 400. So I will have 2 100-foot sections essentially pulling on my left shoulder. Again, this is only going to be advantageous or ideal for a nice long straight driveway. If we have any kind of bends or turns, anything we've got to manipulate in the feet of hose that I'm dragging behind me, we're going to have to consider more staffing. But I can show you in an ideal situation in the next video how we're going to stretch 200 feet of hose to the obstacle site, navigate that, and then get to our target objective. So whoever your nozzleman's going to be, whoever's going to have the working section of the hose, which is going to be the first 100 that's shouldered, LT will go ahead and load the first 100. It's going to pull out. It's going to be just like the Minuteman. It's going to play off the same way. Now, because it's a bulk bed, everything that comes off behind it, we need to play off the top. So if we want to be able to make that play off the same way his load is off his shoulder, I need to do a 180 twist. So I'll come up to the next 100. Just here. Just grab and I'll twist towards me. Once I've done this, I can just walk out and that'll play flat. And by pulling this tab, I can pull the 300 and the 400.